broad language. Brown University, for example, prohibits verbal behavior that leads to feelings of impotence, anger, or disfranchisement. Intentional or unintentional. I mean, what could be more sweeping than that? Colby College prescribes words that cause a vague sense of danger or threaten loss of self-esteem. My own university, University of Alabama, the Faculty Senate passed a proposed speech law code, fortunately not applied, but it was almost unanimous, which denied, in fact I think it was unanimous, it denied university funds for any behavior which demeans or reduces an individual based on group affiliation or personal characteristics, or which promotes hate or discrimination in any approved university program of activity. Someone said this presumably would apply to fans who heckle Auburn players or students at football games. So there's some examples.
My second problem with this resolution is that it takes for granted that we all know what we mean when we say speech codes. And having read a little bit about speech codes, I find this to be a highly contested phrase. It's on some websites that I looked at, it appears that the writers view, for example, state-mandated sexual harassment policies as tantamount to speech codes. And other writers, other people have expressed opinions about this, have different definitions. So that I think the problem with the resolution is that it doesn't provide any indication really of the complexity and contested nature of this phrase, speech codes. And finally, my third problem with it is, and I think that it's indicated in the repeated use of the word administrators, I think that this resolution negates the complexity of the problem of balancing the constitutional right of free speech with the responsibilities that must go along with this right. And this is, of course, a complexity and a problem, particularly for administrators. And
frankly, I'd be a little hesitant to move the adoption of the Bill of Rights in a body like this. I have yet to be persuaded by anyone that speech on our campuses should be more narrowly restricted than it is in our society at large. And yet, in my generation of academics, we have imposed these things on ourselves. We have embraced these things uncritically. And I think it is time to say no to them. To say clearly that the First Amendment is alive and well on our campuses. To my friend from the University of Wisconsin, I would say that the courts of the land have found that these things are unconstitutional in state institutions in case after case after case, because it is state agency restricting freedom of speech. This is the experience of FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. They have won case after case after case in state institutions against these codes. The battle for freedom of speech in private institutions will be a longer and more extended one because the First Amendment does not apply there as it does in the public institutions. But I urge you to reaffirm our commitment to the Bill of Rights.